All right, well, we'll begin this morning's practice resting on the back to start. So feel free to set yourself up with supports, like a bolster under the legs, or if you'd rather simply keep your knees bent and have your feet on the floor, you're welcome to do that. Just looking to find a position for the legs to rest into that feels comfortable in your lower back. Really being mindful that your lower back isn't arched too far away from the floor. And then find a position for your arms to relax and rest into in a way that helps to free up the shoulders. So you might even lift and slide your shoulder blades just a little further down the back, away from the ears. Relax any tension through your hands and allow the fingers to curl naturally, letting them soften. And feel free to move your head a little bit from side to side, and maybe even lifting and lowering the chin a little bit as well, so you can notice where your head sits. And try to find a position where you've got length through the back of your neck, into the base of your skull, as well as space and softness in the front of the neck around the throat. And then invite your whole head to settle, letting go of its weight, which is quite a bit, 12 pounds or so. So the more you can feel your head resting, the more softness you might come across in the neck. And as you close your eyes or simply soften your gaze, become aware of any tension you're holding on in your face. And let the muscles around your eyes relax. Encourage your eyes to settle, resting deeper into their sockets. Noticing the activity in your eyes begin to slow down as you draw your attention inward in order to sense and feel your whole body resting here. As you tune into the movements of your breath. So settling your awareness with your breath, notice its natural pace, however fast or slow it's moving today. And start to feel the areas of your body that are relaxed and soft, where you might be able to sense the movements of your breath easily. How does your body respond to the inhale? And how does your body respond to the exhale? Where can you feel your body moving as you breathe? And notice whether you're bringing any strain or force to your breath. And try to back off a little so you're able to allow the breath to flow freely. Without strain, without force. Just following its natural rhythm as it flows in and as it flows out. So letting the breath be as you feel its movements. And the more you simply observe and become aware of the breath, you might notice the breath beginning to slow down and deepen on its own. So be present with the depth of your inhale, however deep or shallow. And stay present with the length of your exhale, however slow or quick. And often just that simple act of becoming aware of the breath encourages your breath to slow down. So follow a few more cycles of breath here as you continue to sense your whole body resting. And then as you keep a connection here with both your breath and your body, start to reawaken your body with some gentle movements. You can wiggle into your fingers and move into the toes. And as you circle the wrists and ankles, noticing any little cracks, joints, waking up. And then when you're ready, let the eyes open and feel free to go for a full body stretch here, stretching with the arms long back as you reach long with the legs forward. Find a nice deep breath in through the nose and feel free to sigh it out with the mouth. Let's go for 2 more like that. Breathing in through the nose. Opening the mouth, letting it go. 1 more time. All right, let's bend the knees and bring the feet either to the floor, knees bent, or if your back's ready for it, you can hug both knees in and start to rock a little bit across your back, rolling side to side a little bit here. And then let's pause in the center so we've got the hands resting on each knee, maybe the fingers facing more towards the toes. So as we inhale, we can let the knees move away from us, maybe straightening the arms more. And then with your exhale, you can bend the elbows again, drawing the knees in as close as they comfortably go. So with each inhale, you're finding space to expand the belly as the lungs fill. And each exhale, maybe even feeling the thighs pressing into the belly, letting out the breath slowly. So notice that really subtle, small little movement here in the hips with each breath. Noticing how things are feeling in your lower back as well. And then you can start to let that movement become more of a circle so that as you breathe in, you start to circle the knees away from you. And as you exhale, you can circle the knees back in again towards you. And so this allows for a little more of a massage across and around the whole circumference or edge of the sacrum area. So noticing how that space feels today. And then start to circle the other way as well. And again, just keeping the movements in sync with your own breath's rhythm. And doing your best to let go of any tension you feel in your shoulders, letting them stay relaxed as the head stays heavy. Great, and then let's pause in the center. We're gonna maybe we'll hug in the left leg as we stretch up through the right. So while we've got this right leg stretched up towards the sky, in fact, you might even just bend and stretch it a few times as a way to check in with any tension and tightness that's in the back of that left leg. And you just want to lengthen to the point that feels comfortable. You don't have to go with a straight knee, okay? So next time you do stretch, keep as much of that gentle stretch as you can comfortably through the leg, and then we can start to move into the foot. So we'll circle into the ankle. Yeah, so try not to move too much into the knee and the hip at this point, and really concentrate on feeling the movement in the foot. And you can go in the other direction as well, letting the toes wiggle and move as the ankle circles. Starting to feel those muscles maybe in the lower leg wake up, and then let's just point and flex the foot a few times. So we start to wake up even more those muscles in the shin and the calf. That's it. All right. And then from there, we're going to bend that knee and stretch up through the other leg. So let's just do that on the other side. Stretch and bend the left leg a few times. You can point and flex the foot as you do that movement as well. So get some movement just through the joints of the whole leg here. Noticing how this leg feels as you find some comfortable length up through it. Knee can stay as bent, even as much as 90 degrees if that feels best for you. And then begin to find movements circling into this ankle. So slow down your circles, pay attention to the breath as you feel this movement in your foot. Good, going in the opposite direction, feeling the toes wiggle. Notice as you're doing this movement, are you clenching the jaw or tightening through the throat? Can you soften those areas? Really nice. And then let's point and flex the foot a few times. So feel as you reach the heel high, you might notice more stretch coming into the back of the calf, the back of the ankle there. And as you point your toes, you can almost try to curl your toes around and you'll get more stretch into the front of the ankle, the top of the foot. All the while, maybe feeling a sense of warmth in those muscles in the lower leg. All right, and then let that go. Let's just give the legs a little shake in the air. Loosening through the ankles, calves, knees. All right. And then let's go ahead and keep the right knee in, and we're going to stretch the left leg along the floor. So just take a moment here and feel as your left leg is long along the ground. Try to let your knee and your toes of that left leg continue to point up towards the sky. So more often than not, when we just relax the leg turns out a little bit. And just see if you can find some of the action to keep the leg more centered. Knee pointing to the sky. And then with that, just find that subtle movement again with the breath in this right hip. So as you breathe in, you might let the knee move away from you slightly as your lungs fill. And as you exhale, you can draw the knee in a little closer with each exhale. Nice. All right, and then let's keep that right knee where it is, foot off the floor, and we'll just rest the arms out along the ground, palms facing up, and start to circle into your right hip. So you can keep the heel close towards the buttock. So rather than letting the foot move away from you, you're trying to keep it pulled in. So you can draw this shape with your knee and feel the movement from your hip. And it can be a small movement, it can be a large movement. You can enjoy exploring a couple different ranges of motion, just as a way to check in with the hip. That's it. And then going in the opposite direction as well. If you encounter lots of clicks and catches going on in your hip, sometimes it's helpful to Imagine you're moving against a bit of resistance, so creating a bit of tension around that hip joint as you're moving it might be helpful for you. Okay. All right, and then let's explore a little bit of movement coming in and out of a twist while we keep both shoulders on the floor. So we're going to let this right knee move a little out to the right, and then taking the knee across the body, we're going to lift the right hip just until the spine starts to turn and twist without lifting the right shoulder, okay? And then coming back, letting that right knee move a little out to the side, and then bringing it across until the right hip lifts, but the right shoulder stays put. So noticing and sensing this twist as you move in and out of it can be quite helpful as well to turn your head to the right as your knee comes across to the left. And because your head weighs a lot, it helps to keep the weight into that right shoulder. And you're also continuing the movement up into the neck. Nice. Let's go for another. And then when you're ready, let's land into the twist. So we're going to try to shift the weight over onto that left hip to stack the right hip above. This is where a block or a pillow can come in handy as well to bring under this right knee. Or you can just let your foot land on your bottom leg or on the floor in front of that bottom leg. So do what you need to do to feel as comfortable and as supported as you like this morning. And then letting your head relax and rest to the right. So you might notice some stretch going on in and around that outer hip, maybe even into the back or the side of the thigh. And just feel free to massage a little with your fingertips with that left hand. And try to sense the depth of your inhale, following its movements, filling your lungs, expanding your belly. And with each exhale, what can you soften? Where can you find a little more release? Resting with gravity across the upper back, through that right shoulder, even the right side of the ribs. If you're wanting a little more of a stretch through your right leg at this point, you can stretch through that right knee, basically trying to keep the knee at around the same height as it is, maybe as much as like hip height. And then you can reach out through the heel to a comfortable stretch again, keeping the knee as bent as you like. And feel free to once more find a bit of movement in that ankle if you like, to loosen up into the lower leg again. A couple more breaths right here. Good. Go ahead and bend your knee when you're ready to unwind, rolling out onto your back again. Yeah, and just take a few moments to land in the center, wiggle around, get comfortable. Notice how each side feels, how each hip feels after that. All right, and then let's go ahead and draw the left knee in. When you're ready, stretch your right leg along the ground and just get a sense of length in your body, through your, from your heel up to your head. As your head reaches back, sensing some length through the neck to the back of your mat, feel as though your tailbone reaches with your right leg towards the front of your mat. Notice the breath moving in, easing that left knee a little away from you. And with each exhale, there might be a little more space to hug that knee in a little closer. All right, and then let's rest the arms out, maybe like a T shape, palms up. That'll help to keep the shoulders just relaxed towards the floor. And then let's start to find some movement into this left hip. So draw a circle or whatever shape you're noticing with your knee to loosen in motion, bring motion into the hip. And if you try to keep the heel pulled in towards the buttock, that'll also help you create a little more tension, a little more resistance within the movement. So there's a bit more engagement of the muscles in the back of the thigh and into the glutes, and going in the other direction as well. Each direction can feel quite different. Each hip can feel quite different. So just noticing how this side feels. Nice. All right, let's find the twist. We'll move in and out of it, letting the knee first fall a little out to the left, and then bringing the knee across until that left hip starts to lift, but you're trying to keep the left shoulder on the floor. So just find how far you can go before your left shoulder lifts, and then returning again onto the back to come in and out of that movement in order to just loosen up a little more into that hip. You might be feeling it, or into the back, into the spine itself, the segments of the spine. You got it. Feel your head rolling in the opposite direction of the knee. Nice. How does it feel to move in this direction? And then when you're ready, come and roll over onto, or keeping your upper back on the floor, we're going to rest over onto that right hip, left hip above the right hip. Feel free to bring a pillow or something to support your left leg. Notice how this side feels as you settle in. So sometimes we need to make little adjustments. You don't have to stay exactly where you land, right? So you might need to shift your hips back to the left, or move your upper body, shoulders more to the right. And that might help keep the left shoulder a little closer to the ground. So you feel the support of the floor, and that way you can actually relax a little more through that left arm, out into the hand. Feel free on this side to reach across with your right hand, massage a little into your outer thigh, side hip, wherever it is you feel some tighter, tender spots. That's it. And again, feel free if you want a little more stretch through your left leg. You can start out by just bending and straightening through that leg a few times. Noticing how this side feels as you stretch through the knee, through the calf. And then if it feels comfortable to keep some of that stretch for the last couple breaths, go for it. Letting the breath move in, slow and deep. Trying to allow for the exhale to let go slowly. All right, let's bend the knee and unwind onto the back again. All right, so let's plant the feet pretty much underneath the knees and try to feel where the position where your pelvis sits, and you might even try to just very slightly lift the pelvis and curl the tailbone a tiny bit more towards the ceiling, and then rest the back of the pelvis into the floor. So you've got that nice wide space of the sacrum into the ground. And then let's rock a bit, just from the toes to the heels. So we're going to keep the hips on the floor for now and just get a sense of the feet, So rock up onto your toes and then lower the heels and lift and spread the toes. And just notice as you do this, not much of the center of your foot makes contact with the ground. Ideally, you have those 3 arches of the feet on either side of the feet and along the pads of the feet. And they're helping to support the foot, the structure of the foot. And then when we're standing on our feet, they help us rebound and absorb the weight of the ground, the weight of our body hitting the ground. So let's just encourage that lift of the arches of the feet and sense the 3 corners of your feet, that tripod of support through the centers of each heel, into the balls of the baby toes and across to the balls of the baby toes, big toes. That's it. And then let's rest into those 3 points of contact. So, and those 3 points of contact obviously have lines connecting to them. And those are the arches in the feet. From big toe across to baby toe and down to the heel and then back up to the big toe. So just get a sense of that. As we stand into our feet, let's take the arms into the ground beside us. And again, you might lift and slide your shoulder blades a little down the back. Press into the arms a little more from the palms to the backs of the shoulders. Let's start to stand into our feet. And just notice as you bring more weight into your feet, how your hips get lighter. So just allow your hips to lift to whatever height feels comfortable right now. Where you feel the support of your legs, keeping your hips off the ground, any amount. And then you can find the support of the arms as they continue to gently press down into the floor. You get a little more space into the front of your chest, across the collarbones, wide through the breastbone, open through the front hips as your knees point forward beyond your toes. So let's pause into the breath here. See if you can settle into a slow and steady breath. Each exhale, remind the neck to lengthen. Follow its length from the shoulders to the ears. Good. Follow one more cycle of breath. And then take another full deep breath in, so that as you exhale, you can try to roll your spine down slowly from the top down. So moving slowly, lowering the spine, little by little from top to bottom. Ideally, tailbone kind of coming down last. Let's hug the knees in. We'll take the hands to the backs of the thighs or underneath the knees. So we can open up the knees a little wider apart, more like shoulder distance. So the knees are in and down towards the shoulders. And then we can maybe find more of a 90-degree bend at the knees. So the heels kind of stretch towards the sky. Feel free to just keep the hands here or kind of hook your forearms around the backs of the thighs, drawing the knees in and down without letting the shoulders curl towards the ceiling. So can you keep the shoulders, that's it, down away from the ears. If you can comfortably hold the feet in this position, happy baby, feel free to. It doesn't really add a whole lot, I find, other than tension sometimes in the neck and shoulders. So just pay attention to that. Feel free to just hold the thighs with the arms for another couple breaths. And this is a nice way to just broaden into the lower back as we're finding a deep fold in the hips. Notice where the breath moves. Feel free to find little rocks if that feels good in your back. Nice. All right, and then let's slowly go ahead and bend the knees again in, and we'll roll over onto our side. Make a pillow with your bottom arm if you like, and just take a couple breaths there. We've been on the back for a little bit. And then we can use our hands to press ourselves up. And we'll come up onto our hands and knees. Or if you'd rather avoid going on the knees, you can bring your hands to the seat of a chair instead. All right, so let's find our hands supporting us right under the shoulders, and knees or feet, if you're standing, underneath the hips. We'll begin to find a bit of movement here in the spine. So let's go ahead and hug up and in through the belly as we round the back. So getting a gentle stretch in the back, letting the chin come towards the chest so the neck, the back of the neck can enjoy some of that length as well. And then as you start to lift the tailbone up, feel the chest opening, looking forward with your chest, and then your head lifts maybe a tiny bit more. So each exhale, as we curl the tailbone down, let the chin come towards the chest. And then with each inhale, as you find some length into the front of the body, through the belly, wide open through the chest, the head and the tailbone can lift. Follow that flow to the rhythm of your own breath. So I've guided you to inhale or exhale during certain movements, but if it makes more sense to do it in a different way, by all means, do it in a different way. Just allow the breath to flow and allow the movement to follow and feel its rhythm. Really nice. And then come on back to more of a neutral spine. So you've got your tailbone pointing back and the head is in line with the rest of the spine as your gaze is maybe just beyond your fingers. And then from here, let's find a side bend movement through the spine. So it can be a little tricky. So maybe we'll just start out with the neck. So keeping your gaze down, your nose is going to pretty much stay right between the hands the whole time, pointing towards the floor between your hands as you lower or bring your right ear towards your right shoulder. So you're tipping your head to the right. And then come back through center and lower the left ear towards your left shoulder, tipping the head to the left. And just notice that motion, that action. And are you wanting to look over your shoulder? So that would be a twist in your neck. And we're looking for a side bend. Yeah, so you keep looking down as you lower the ear towards the shoulder. Okay, let's pause in the center. So we're going to break it down one more time, moving now just the pelvis in that side bend. So you can imagine an extension like you have an actual tail beyond your tailbone pointing straight back. And you're going to first let your tail wiggle to point towards the back right corner, and then wiggle your tail to point towards the left back corner. So what you're doing is shortening one side of your waist and then the other side of your waist, right? And the whole time your hips stay right over your knees. So it's not a swaying of your hips side to side like this, where your hips are going off center. Your hips are staying in the center, and you're trying to point your tailbone towards one back corner and then the other back corner, or lifting one side of the pelvis and then lifting the other side, right? And so then if you feel comfortable to bring the movement into the whole spine, you can go for it. So as your head tips to the right ear towards right shoulder, the shoulder and the hip on that same side are moving towards each other. And then left shoulder, left ear to left shoulder, shoulder and hip towards each other. So we're shortening one side of the waist as we stretch through the other side. And just notice that little bit of movement in the spine. If you're wanting to explore moving through a kind of cat tilt rounded back as you draw, as you find these lateral movements, these side bends, feel free. So you can round the back a little more, or you can arch the back more into a dog tilt, or you can just keep it centered. If you're like, what is going on? Just keep it centered. That's it. Do what you can do, whether it's just the neck moving or just the pelvis moving or the whole spine. Beautiful. All right. And then let's take some weight off the hands. We'll come back into a child's pose, or any pose that feels good for you in this moment, a standing forward bend. And feel free to just allow for a release now. Yeah, to come into the shoulders. Feel free to circle out the wrists. And let the weight of your head relax as you feel the breath moving into your back. Okay, let's bring both hands again to the floor, the chair, and we're going to take the hands maybe a little bit forward of the shoulders so that we can curl the toes under, and just try to find all 5 toes curled under on each foot. Try to find those baby toes as much as possible curled under. And just notice how that feels in the foot. It might be a good stretch for you in the sole of your foot here. So as you've got your hands down, try to let the neck feel long forward. So you try to maybe bring the shoulders away from the ears, and then we're going to send the hips up and back while we let the head continue to release between the arms. So allow for the neck to feel long towards the hands as the hips and the sitting bones reach back away from the head. And then you can stretch a little further down and back through the heels. And if you're noticing as you do that some tension in the calves, feel free to pedal the feet. Yeah, you can push down through one heel as you bend the other knee a couple times. And then see if you can settle into some relative stillness here in your downward dog. That's it, and just sense the breath. Follow the depth of your inhale and try to be present with the whole length of your exhale. Good. Follow one more cycle of breath here. Lovely. And then let's slowly lower the knees again back to the ground. We're in a neutral spine table pose. Okay. So we've either got the hands directly under, we've got the hands under the shoulders, knees or feet under the hips. And then let's go ahead and take the right hand to the very top of the head, okay? And so, move your head around a little bit. Move to look down, move your head to look forward more, and just notice what that does to your neck, what that does to the position of your head, and see if you can position your head where you feel the back of your head, the crown of your head reaching forward. That's it, and your tailbone reaching back. We can straighten the left leg. Toes can be on the floor here, or you can let them lift and hover for a little extra balance. That's it. And then, with your head in that nice long, in line with the spine, length through the neck. That's it. Let's go ahead and just let the right arm stretch forward. Beautiful. So you can feel as though your right hand is an extension of your spine through your head. Feel that for another breath, long through the whole body. Really good. Nice. And then come on back onto your table pose. So here in table pose, it's important to establish that neutral spine, right? So you're kind of broad and lifted through the belly, tailbone pointing back, crown of the head reaching forward. We can take the left hand to sort of the top or the crown of the head area and just get a sense when you move your head up and down, how that changes where the top of your head is looking. And rather than the top of your head looking towards the sky where you're looking forward, or rather than the top of your head looking towards the front of your mat, or down to the ground, you want to try to feel like the head, if it were to extend further, would go beyond the front of your mat. Right leg can reach back, toes curled under on the floor, or let the leg lift. And as you send that left arm to stretch forward, let's pause in the balance here. That's it. Try not to let your head fall forward. Try not to lift your gaze too high so that the back of the neck can stay long. Really good. All right, let's bring it back onto hands and knees. Take a moment's rest. Child's pose or forward bend. Feel the nature of your breath as you slow it down here. All right, let's bring the hands again under the shoulders. And we're going to step the right foot forward. So you can have this right foot on the seat of the chair or on the ground with your back knee on the floor. And we're going to come up into this lunge shape. So your right knee is bent at around 90 degrees or so, pointing forward. You've got your hips above your back leg, back knee. And just get a sense, maybe take the hands to the hips. Let's find a little movement in these hips and the whole pelvis. So as you breathe in, let the belly expand and allow for the pelvis to tip forward. So your tailbone goes a little lower, your bum or your your pubic bone goes lower, your tailbone lifts, As you exhale, draw the pubic bone up, tailbone down. So you're lifting through the front of the pelvis. So each inhale, just tip the pelvis forward as much or as little as it goes. And then on the exhale, hug up and in through the belly, draw the pubic bone in and up, tailbone down. And just one more time, just get a sense of that movement, however you can. Notice when you're here with the sort of tailbone up, it has the tendency to also kind of thrust your ribs forward and maybe bring a bit of discomfort into that low back, lots of kind of crunch into there. So we're going to try to avoid that by keeping the pelvis in this position where we're going to pull up through the front of the pubic bone, draw down through the tailbone. You might notice as you do that a little more stretch sensation through the front of this left hip. All right, so let's find our spine tall from the pelvis. Let the arms come out wide to the sides. Let's turn the palms to face up. Yeah, so your thumbs are almost reaching towards the wall that's behind you as you spread the palms, spread the fingers. Feel a bit of space open through the front of your chest. And then with that, length up through your spine, let's bring a twist into it, turning to the right. So the right arm's just going to keep reaching out. Left hand can rest on that front thigh. That's it. And here we are. Now notice where your head sits. You might even again take your hand to the top of your head, right? And just get a sense, move the head around a little bit and try to feel it light and spacious through the neck, above your shoulders, even as your head gently turns. Yeah, maybe for the last breath or two, stretching that right arm out again for another full cycle. Good, let's inhale back to center. We'll bring both arms up just for a breath or two. Yeah, feel some length through both sides of your body, the waist, the ribs, the neck, the arms stretching up. Good, let's lower the hands. We can come back into table, child's pose, downward dog. What is calling you? Be where your breath can feel a steady rhythm. Letting go of the exhales slowly, making room for deeper inhales. Really nice. So we can come into lunge on the other side, either from table or downward dog, whatever you like. We'll bring the left foot forward, left foot on the seat of the chair if you're using it. So we can come on up with the upper body, bringing the shoulders over the hips. So this is sort of an asymmetrical position, right? For the pelvis, for the legs, for the lower body. So let's check out those pelvic tilt movements with the left foot forward. So as you breathe in, let the belly expand. As you tip the pelvis forward, tailbone goes up, pubic bone goes down a bit. You get more of an arch in that low back. And then on the exhale, how does it feel as you draw up through the pubic bone and down through the tailbone? Tipping the pelvis back a little, right? As the inhale comes, let the pelvis tip forward or down. As the exhale comes, let the pelvis tip up or back. Yeah, find that one more time. How does this side feel? That's it. As you draw your tailbone towards the floor, your back leg, what do you feel in the front of that right side, the right hip? Okay. Let's take both arms wide open to the sides again. So keep a sense of the support in your legs. Push down a little more through the back foot. That's it, as you're pressing into the front foot. Feel the spine tall in the center. Let's keep all that length as we twist to the left. Right hand can come to rest on that front leg. So you want to keep the front knee pointing forward. The pelvis really hasn't shifted a whole lot. It's still more facing forward as we're turning our spine to the left. That's it. And again, feel free to let the left hand rest on the top of your head so you can just get a sense of where your head sits. Is it way over here in front of the shoulders? Can you bring it back a little bit? The back of the neck can find a little more length as you let the head gently turn to continue the twist into the top part of the spine. Be here for another breath or two, stretching through the left arm. Nice. Let's inhale back to center. Lift both arms, stretch up. As you push down a little more through the feet, lengthen and lift taller from the ground. Lovely. Let's bring the hands back to the floor. And once again, back into your table, child's pose, downward dog shape. Again, what is calling you here? Good, and then let's all meet in downward dog, feeling a sense of that lift again up and back through the hips, while the head continues to lengthen between the arms towards the hands, and all the space in between for the breath to move. Good, we can walk now our hands and feet towards each other, coming into a standing forward bend. So let all the weight come into the legs eventually, the feet, so that your arms can just dangle loosely. And you can release again the weight of your head, maybe bringing your chin a little closer to the chest. Feeling free to keep the knees bent. When we force the legs to straighten, what we end up doing is just rounding primarily in the back. So when we bend the knees, we're going to allow for more movement through the whole pelvis to come over the legs. That's it. You're going to get a lot more length and release with gravity that way as well. Let's stay here for another breath. Good. Push down through your feet and find a little bend in those knees as you roll up quite slowly. So try to let the head feel heavy until it rolls up last. Okay. If you still have the blanket on your mat or the chair, you can just set things aside. So We can stand again in mountain pose. And we'll just once again find our feet in mountain pose, maybe with a little bit of movement in and out of some balance. So just notice where your feet are. Plant them in a way that brings support, brings you support. So feet can go narrower or wider. As you breathe in, let's go ahead and lift up onto the toes as your arms float overhead. That's it. And then with the exhale, lowering down slowly through the heels as the hands come down. Lift and spread the toes. Get a sense of that width across the pads of your feet again. And again, inhale, lift. Finding your balance on your toes. As you exhale, lowering slowly. Feel as you lower, the crown of your head is still lifting. So can you feel the crown of your head lifting towards the sky the whole time as you continue this movement with the rhythm of your breath? That's it. So the neck stays long in the center. Beautiful. All right, let's keep the feet on the floor. Just lift the arms with your next inhale. We'll go ahead and interlace the fingers together and just rest the hands as lightly as they can be on your head. So rather than your hands sort of pushing into your head, see if you can feel as though your head is lifting into your hands. Yeah? So one way to help feel that is to feel the ground through your feet. And as we find the support of our legs, resting or even pushing into the floor through the feet, we can get this rebound of lift up the spine, into the neck. We can move the head around. Notice where it sits. Try to find where you can feel your ears more in line with your shoulders, spacious through the front of the throat, as well as the back of the neck. Yeah? All right. Notice the breath here. How does it feel in your shoulders? Can they do a little less? Resting again down the back. So let's find a bit of a side bend. So as we try to keep this sense of lift of the head and neck into the hands, let's simply bend to the right, sort of through the waist, right? So we're finding that side bend from the waist up and then back up through center. The whole time, both feet are supporting you. So feel the support of both feet even as you go to the left. Good. Finding your inhale to center and letting your exhale go to the other side again. So as you keep it going at your own pace, go slow enough so you can notice, is your head sort of falling out of alignment like this and leading the way? And instead, let's try to lead with the waist and just allow the head to follow. So really, the head shouldn't be moving much. I mean, it will be moving in space, but the neck itself is staying relatively still. Let's go for one last one. Yeah, so many different ways to move the spine. We're trying to move it from the waist right now. So go over to the right again. Feel your head following that slight trajectory of a bend, right, to the right. So we're going to keep our head where it is and slowly see if we can stretch the arms to a comfortable stretch. So elbows can stay as bent as you like. You're going to find maybe a little more space into this left side. So let the breath go there. Push into the left foot a little more as you're stretching away from it. Still breathing. Really nice. Lower the hands, come back to center. Ooh, just take a moment, check in with your shoulders, wiggle them around, draw them away from the ears as best you can. As you press into the feet, lift the head into the hands. Head light, hands light. All right, let's go to the left. So we're lengthening the right side here as we shorten the left side. But the whole time we want to stay long through both sides of the neck. Yeah, so the head stays balanced right between the shoulders, and then we're going to slowly stretch a little more, straightening the arms until it feels good, stays feeling good in your shoulders. There you go. As you stand a little more weight into your right foot, you can lengthen up from it, And let the breath fill that space. Lovely. All right, bring the hands back to the head. Come on up to center. Let's release the arms. And what we're going to do is interlace the fingers together again, but this time do the opposite way. So we tend to always interlace with one hand on top. For me, it's my left. For you, it could be your right, and just switch it up. Okay, so we've got the hands interlaced the opposite way. And then let's find the movement in the shoulder blades. Can you bring your shoulders, the tops of your shoulders, back? The upper arms from the shoulders to the elbows, back. Yeah? And then forward. You can do it a couple times. Just get a sense of it. And then feel your shoulder blades moving a little more towards each other as you try to now straighten the arms a little more. And let the hands come away from your body. So let's find this movement as we try to keep the elbows straight. Bring the hands towards the body. Bring the hands away from the body. And when you bring the hands away from the body, do your shoulders want to round sort of forward again? And can you keep the shoulder blades towards each other? They don't have to be fully together or anything, but the shoulders are moving back as your arms move back. All right, let's keep the arms reaching sort of down and back as we bend through the knees and come forward over the legs. That's it. So I say to bend through the knees so we can feel a little more comfortable stretch in the backs of the legs and allow for a nice release to come through the spine. And then if it's feeling comfortable to straighten the legs any tiny bit further, try it out. It doesn't have to go completely straight. Be where your breath can flow, where the sensation feels comfortable in your legs and in your shoulders. For one more breath. Now imagine you are pulling yourself up by your arms. So pull back with your arms, push down with your feet at the same time, and come on up with that support. Nice and slowly, and release the arms. Ooh, just swing out the arms, get them loose. Okay. So now let's bring ourselves towards the front of the mat. We'll just go for one last standing forward bend. Here's where you might want to be close to a low table or the seat of a chair, or use a couple blocks. So I'm going to take my blocks and place them just on either side of my feet. So let's keep the right foot where it is. We're going to step the left foot back, or you can also step your right foot forward. Okay, whatever brings you more stability. So the idea is to try to keep your feet and your hips facing forward as we take our hands to our hips. So we're going to try to keep this front leg mostly straight, so it can be a slight bend in that knee, or as much of a bend in the knee as you need to keep it comfortable in your leg and hip. But the idea is to try to keep it as stretched as is comfortable as well. So we're going to try to move from these hips to bend forward and then come on back up. And so this is where you might also want to take your hand, maybe the right hand, to the top of your head, and just notice, right? The neck is going to stay long the entire time. You're trying to keep your head in line with your chest, your spine in this fairly strong neutral shape while we move primarily from the hips. Yeah. So let's go as far forward as you can comfortably go. You might feel more stretch, of course, in this back, the back of that front leg. And let's just pause wherever you are and notice and try to sense the length remaining through the waist, wide through the chest, neck long, so feel your head reaching forward into your hand. And then we can momentarily stretch this right arm forward. Feel as your right arm, as your spine reaches forward with your right hand, your right hip pulls back a little more. Yeah, can you find that tiny bit of action? Right hip back, right arm forward. Beautiful. All right, let's take it down. Hands to your support. Okay, so you want that support pretty close to you rather than way out in front of you. So you may need to come a little closer to it or walk your blocks a little further back and allow for now a nice release to come into the spine. Yeah, maybe on the inhale, you lift up a little bit, find some more length through the front. And then with the exhale, is there a little more space you can soften into? Remember, let the head be part of that gentle curve. Neck now is part of that gentle curve. So we're allowing a gentle flexion to come into the back. Some rounding, some stretch. One more breath here. Really nice. Bend that front knee. We can press into the feet to come all the way up to standing and step the feet together. Whew. Give the legs a little bit of a shake. Good stretch for the back of that leg. Let's check it out on the other side. So this time the left foot's going to be forward, right foot is back a little bit. It's a fairly small step between your front and your back foot. Kind of depends on your own flexibility and your height. So go to where it's feeling stable and secure. Your hips, your feet, your whole body is still facing forward. So yeah, we'll take the hands again to the hips because this is where we're trying to move from. Our pelvis is going to rotate over our legs in order to kind of lift the hips, push the bum sort of back. Chest is wide forward. So we're trying not to round the back just yet. As we come up and go down a few more times, feel free to let the left hand rest on the top of your head so that you can notice when you go forward, does your chin lower towards your chest? Does the top of your head more face the floor? And can you instead keep the top of your head sort of reaching forward? Yeah, not so much down or up. Sometimes we tend to look forward with our eyes, and that'll bring some restriction into the base of the skull when we come forward. Yeah, so just try to get a sense of your head riding your spine. There you go. And then next time you come forward, however far you go before you round your back, it could be a different angle for each of us, right? Let's send the left arm out as an extension of the spine. That's it. Neck is long. Reaching forward and out to the left hand as your left hip reaches in the opposite direction. There you go. Breathe into that space. Lovely. Let's lower the hands again to our support, the seat of a chair, a couple blocks, the nearby couch, whatever you like. And allow for now, as you inhale, maybe you just ease up through the front of the body, away from that front leg slightly, so that as you exhale, there may be a little more comfort to release forward into. So feel free to continue to sort of back off with your inhale and settle into it a little more with your exhale. Just allow again, nice release to come into the spine. All the while, of course, there's support needed in the legs. So there's a bit of balance work here. There's some strength work in the legs. So you might be feeling that. Breathe through it for another cycle. Really nice. Let's go ahead and bend this front knee so we can push into the legs, coming up slowly with the upper body. We'll step it together again. Whew. All right. So we can set aside the blocks or the chair, and we'll come down into one last downward dog. So let's go ahead and inhale the arms overhead. And with your exhale, fold forward, releasing over the legs. Let the head get heavy again. Bend the knees enough to bring the hands to the floor, and we'll step this back into one last downward dog. Pausing in your downward dog for a couple of breaths. All right, and then let's lower the knees to the floor. And shift the feet over to one side so we can find a seated position with both legs stretched out in front. So this is where a little cushion or a folded blanket can come in handy to sit up on. So sitting up on a little support for the seated poses just helps to elevate the hips a little bit, brings you a little more length into your lower back. So let's go ahead and maybe we'll start with the soles of the feet together. And shift from one sitting bone to the other, feeling them both, resting as evenly, as equally as possible. All right, don't worry about pulling your feet in really close. Just allow the feet to be however far or close they need to be for yourself to stay elevated up on your sitting bones rather than curled back, sitting on your tailbone more, you know? See if you can distinguish that. All right. Let's keep the right knee bent and we'll take the left leg a little bit out to the side. We can bring that right foot in front of us, maybe a pillow or a block underneath that right knee if it's off the ground. Okay, let's bring the hands just to the thighs and try to sense the spine again in the center. I'm finding it helpful to bring my right hand to my belly. So I'm gonna find a twist. We're gonna twist to the right. So find the twist really from this space just above the navel, turning through the waist, yeah? So rather than just the head turning and leading the way, can you move from lower, yeah? Turning your upper body more to face your bent knee. So just coming into that as far as you comfortably can go, right? Resting into both sitting bones, staying easy with the breath. There you go. We can bring the hand to rest onto the floor beside our hip. So now as we keep ourselves turned to facing this bent knee, let's simply slide the left hand maybe a little bit down that left leg. You can come up again and do it a couple times. And again, notice, does your head want to lead the way? Okay? And try to lead further down, like from further down, from your waist, from your ribs. That's it. And the head just follows. All right, so we've leaned a little to the left. It doesn't matter how far down that left hand has gone, to the knee, to the foot, the ankle, anything goes. Take that right arm to stretch out. You got it. Opening to the right with your belly, with your chest, with your head gently turning. If it feels good to continue the reach of this arm overhead, feel free to find that space into the right side. Notice where the breath moves. Feel it moving in. Feel it moving out. Lovely. Let's come on back slowly to sitting up tall, facing forward, and we'll switch legs. So, left knee is going to stay bent. Right leg, we're going to stretch out a little to the right. So if you imagine the other leg is straight, the legs are out like a V, but we've bent this left knee. Wiggle around and feel both sitting bones again. So yeah, let's take the left hand to the belly or just above the navel, somewhere between the ribs and the navel. That's where we're going to try to twist from. So we can turn to the left and maybe back again forward. Just finding that motion. Ooh, do you want to lead with your head, with your eyes? Can you let your head follow as you find the movement from the waist, from the lower ribs? Okay, and then keeping that gentle twist, so you've turned your upper body to face your bent knee a little more. We can take both hands to rest. So the right hand is on the right leg, left hand's maybe on the floor. And as you slide your right hand down your left leg, notice what you feel. A bit of a side bend, and then come on back upright. And just try to feel where your head wants to go. Can you keep it between your shoulders, back rather than forward? And when we let the head fall forward, because it weighs so much, it's going to pull our whole spine kind of forward and rounding. So see if you can keep your chest wide as you look and turn still towards your bent knee. Let's pause in this little bit of a side stretch over to the right as the left arm sweeps out. Feel the length or the width across your chest from the center of your chest out to your left fingertips. Yeah? Can you keep all that space with your arms staying out like this? Or it can go overhead a little more if that feels good in the neck and shoulder. You'll feel a little more length into your left side. So go to where you need to be with the breath still flowing freely here. Really good. Take your time to come on back upright, facing forward again. Let's bring the soles of the feet together, knees apart. Maybe a little flutter of the knees up and down, just loosening any tension there in those hips. Feeling free to even keep your feet a little further forward than you usually do so that you can come forward with your upper body and allow for a gentle release to come into your back. So feel free to allow the back to find a gentle curve. Letting your hands rest where they naturally do without bringing your shoulders tension up towards the ears. So noticing that. That's it. Feel where the breath moves in, relaxing the belly, and allow for the exhale to flow out slowly. All right, let's make our way back up to sitting. We can take the hands to the outer knees, guiding both knees together. We can give the legs a little stretch, shake them out in front. You can sit back into the hands if you want. Just loosen up through hips, knees, ankles. Okay, and then let's come again back onto the back. So again, getting any support you like, pillow under the head, under the legs. Do anything you feel you need to do before you settle into stillness here. Feeling for the position you find most comfortable here to end your practice in. And once again, sensing your connection with the ground. So allow for the weight of your head to rest. Notice how it sits. And feel the width across your upper back and shoulders resting. The weight of your pelvis settled. Softening around your hips here to allow for the legs to rest. Feet and ankles softening. Notice the position of your hands. Can you relax the fingers, soften into the wrists? And try to keep a sense of your whole body as you rest here. And allow the breath to flow freely, conscious of the inhale, conscious of the exhale. And as you let yourself remain relaxed and still, take in a deeper inhale, letting out the exhale. And a couple more slow, deep breaths, helping to re-energize yourself. And once again, bring some movement back into the body, maybe rolling the head a little side to side as you loosen into the feet and hands. And then feel free to enjoy another full body stretch once again. And let's go ahead and rest once more onto the side with your knees bent. You can take a couple breaths there, easing the transition into the rest of your day. And make your way up into a simple seated position, whatever feels comfortable for you. And let the palms touch together in front of the heart. And take a moment to acknowledge your practice today, giving thanks for being here. Bowing down to your practice. I thank you for joining me today.